Hello everybody, Flik here and welcome to Let's Chat, my weekly vlog series posted every Monday at lunchtime by UK standards, where I talk about any old random crap that I feel like, basically, usually gaming related, sometimes not so, sometimes it's silly videos of my dog and that kind of thing, and sometimes, or almost every time, I poll on Twitter before I record for questions or topics for me to cover. I haven't done that this week though, because I have a very specific thing I want to talk about that I mentioned at the tail end of last week's chat. So I had a little conversation with another YouTuber just over a week ago now, or they started the conversation with me, regarding how hard it was for them to manage to give content to their viewers while also working a 9 to 5 job. And my reaction to that was, well, yeah, it's basically impossible to stay consistent on YouTube if you've got a 9 to 5 job. I know people with 9 to 5 jobs whose channels no longer operate as a result of that. I found it difficult to maintain a daily upload schedule when I had a part-time job, so I can only imagine that a 9 to 5 job, I mean, I had a 37.5-hour job at one point. I wouldn't be able to do YouTube while working that. So I wasn't surprised by this person telling me they were finding it so difficult. And that got me onto the topic of, it's not a confrontational thing when I say this, but there is the general skepticism when you describe what you do if you're a content creator on YouTube for a living, that people will scoff, pretend it's not a real job, just because it's a fun job. And there are aspects of the job that are fun. I am definitely not going to deny that, nor am I going to deny that it is an easy job compared to certain other jobs, certainly compared to other jobs I had. I mean, you might think that working in a supermarket, for example, is demeaning and simple. I don't agree. I think that if you do the job well, you work bloody hard, more so than the people in upper management if you're on the shop floor. So yeah, what I do now, this YouTube thing, definitely doesn't involve as much physical labour and genuine hard work as some of the other jobs I've had in my life. But that doesn't mean it's not a job, and it also doesn't mean that work doesn't go in. So I thought for this week over the past week since the last recording, I've been keeping notes on the kind of schedule I keep to. I think I often mention that I'm keeping to a schedule and I've got uploads in my schedule and whatnot. I don't physically have a schedule written down. It's kind of in my head where I roughly plan out what I want to do when. And obviously I do have certain days where I post certain videos, mainly these chat videos on every Monday, and then also the Hearthstone Friday. That's basically the only two which are set in stone. Everything else is kind of a schedule that I form in my head as I go, but I thought I'd write down how I spend my week, my work week, not including time where I'm playing games just because I feel like it, because I'm not doing any recording or any research or anything like that. Just if I'm playing a game for fun, I've not included that, because I thought it might be interesting for people just to hear a bit about that. And I'm not trying to start any kind of arguments. If you listen to all this and still think that what I do is definitely not a real job or worth being paid for, then, well, I tried my best to convince you otherwise, I guess. But let's kind of start with the basics. So, daily upload schedule. I'm obviously uploading, well, actually right now I'm not uploading one video a day, but usually I upload one video a day. Right now I'm trying to do at least two, because I'm doing J-Stars kind of as an aside, because I don't want it to interrupt my other projects. So right now I'm doing, say, 2 videos a day. Most YouTubers who do it for a living, I would say they actually do between 2 and 4 videos a day. I would do that much if I had a connection to manage it, so I can perfectly understand how they're able to do it. That obviously does mean that they would probably do a lot more recording than I currently do, and I wouldn't mind doing more recording, although finding the time isn't always as easy as it might sound. But also, you've got that daily upload schedule. You then have to plan the type of playthrough you want to do, whether it's a walkthrough or a let's play or a blind one. Blind ones are generally frowned upon, I think, because people don't like seeing people get stuck on puzzles in games and then get frustrated because they might know the answer. I get it, although I don't have I was going to say an abortion there, what the hell, a hatred of blind let's plays personally, but I can get why people do. But if you're not doing a blind let's play, then that means there's a lot of pre-recording work, and I'll get a bit more into detail about that a bit later on. But keep in mind these things so far. So daily upload schedule, 1 to 3 videos, say. If you're not doing it blind, there is a degree of planning before you even start recording. You've then obviously got to plan the recording of said episodes. Then you've got the editing and rendering process, and then you've got the uploading process. So keep all those little kind of things in mind that must be done as we go through the steps here. And then, on top of that, keep in mind that it's very rare for a content creator to only have one series, because variety is the spice of life. And if you are uploading more than 1 video a day, say between 2 and 4, you probably do have multiple series. Maybe it's different games you're doing playthroughs of, maybe it's a review series and then a playthrough series, or an indie spotlight series, that kind of thing. You know, the variety of things that gamer content producers do. So keep that in mind as well. And then obviously you've got to record those ones and edit those ones on top of your series that you're doing. But then you've got the stuff that you might not think about, which is the soliciting PR companies for review copies of games. You have to be professional in the way you approach them. Be polite, be persistent, but you know, be polite. And then, even if you're not trying to contact PR people for review copies of games, you yourself are getting contacted by PR companies and developers and publishers directly because they want you to do content on their games, or games if they're a publisher. And you've got to handle that, because it's not very nice ignoring emails, although sometimes they are just mail shots, so you can. But again, that's something else that eats into your time, depending on how much you do content-wise, obviously. So, and by the way, a rough estimate, it varies wildly for me, but I would say anywhere between 5 minimum, like really, really minimum, and say 20 or 25 emails a week from developers and publishers and PR companies approaching me directly. So that's not including anything that I try and go after myself. Like, say, well, use Dark Souls 2 as an example. I wanted to cover it. I got in contact with Namco Bandai's PR, and then a conversation and dialogue started. They didn't approach me, I approached them. While I was approaching for Dark Souls 2, I myself was being approached by indie devs. Just, that's how I mean. And the balancing of all these things I've mentioned can actually be quite stressful, and stress in the workplace is a very, very common occurrence. I mean, I even got stressed out when I worked in a supermarket, for goodness sake, because I think I care too much about doing a good job when, you know, if you're just working on a supermarket shop floor, there is inclination to think that you don't give a rat's ass. Well, I'm the kind of person who kind of goes all in, even if I don't particularly like the job I have, because I feel I have to. So that does create a lot of stress, and that applies here as well. Yeah, you're playing games for the internet, but there is still a degree of stress, a stress that you get so many contact emails, like so many indie devs contacting you that you just can't answer them all, and you feel bad because you can't cover every single game, because otherwise that's all your channel would be, and some of them just aren't up your alley or good, just flat out not good, and you don't really want to have to say that to them because you'll feel bad, because you'll make them feel worse. And of course you've got the lingering threat of copyright strikes and harassment and all that kind of thing. And not to mention trying to brand yourself and get your name out there. If your views aren't high enough, if your monetized views aren't high enough, you don't eat because you don't get paid. And that does create stress. So the point of this little blurb here is, don't assume that content creators on YouTube are living a stress-free life. They certainly are not, or at least not the ones that I know of. There is stress involved, just like any other job. So let's move on to an actual breakdown of what I've done in the past week. Now obviously I'm recording this on the Saturday before the Monday this will be posted, so I've kind of had to do a weirdly listed week. So I started recording it as in these notes, from Sunday last week. Sunday it's a rest day for most people. I do actually do a bit of work on a Sunday. I very rarely get any recording done because of family stuff that I do on a Sunday. So the Sunday that I've been keeping this notes of, all I did was catch up on the backlog of emails, because generally, particularly on a Friday, that's when a lot of PR companies will send out their mail shots and direct mails to you, and you don't really need to answer them quickly because they don't work weekends, so there's no point answering them quickly because you won't get an answer until the Monday anyway. So usually I let emails build up over the weekend because I know I won't get replies. That's not technically true for all emails, because if it's indie devs, like just teams of 1 to 3 people say, they'll probably answer emails on a weekend, but still I let them build up on a weekend because I don't like having to answer them every single day. So my Sunday was spent answering many excuse me, I just finished eating lunch before this and that was it, making an appearance. I spent my Sunday answering many emails to arrange some games for me to cover in my Let's Look At series, and potentially some other stuff that I can't go into yet. And keep in mind when I'm mentioning these days, I know it's confusing because this will be posted on a Monday, but I am talking about a week ago. So, on the Monday, and it'll be true for the Monday that you hear this as well, Monday is the only day I take off where I generally never ever, except in very, very rare circumstances, do any kind of recording or editing or whatnot. I obviously do a daily upload, or I do two because I do a Let's Chat as well. But as far as recording new stuff goes, I don't, because I do my weekly food shop and stuff like that on a Monday, so that's when I get that kind of thing out the way. If we jump ahead to Tuesday, last Tuesday I recorded 2 J-Star Victory VS requests that I got from viewers. I recorded 1 Dark Souls 2 video, and I also did a Let's Look At. It was the Let's Look At that posted on Saturday, I think, which was Ether 1. Very good game. And one thing to get into about uploading, I mean recording rather, if a video is 20 or 30 minutes long, that doesn't mean it took 20 or 30 minutes to produce technically. That's like saying a 3-minute music video took 3 minutes to produce. It's just not that practical, or it doesn't make sense really. Because if you're doing a series that isn't blind, like I'll go into exact details about Dark Souls 2. I do off-screen leveling. In Monster Hunter, I do off-screen farming. This is, you could argue that it's not work. I would argue that it is, because it's so that you can produce better quality videos. Do you really want to see me killing a bunch of the same monster over and over again in Monster Hunter for one part of a video, or of the series rather, so that I can get better armor? Do you really want that? I don't think you would. Do you want to see me kill 5 Rathians across 3 videos? I don't think so. Dark Souls 2, I need a few levels to use a spell, say, and I want to start the next part with me having that spell. You don't want to see me have a 20 or 30 minute part of me just killing the same enemies over and over, going to the bonfire to spawn them again, and then killing them again over and over. That's not entertainment. And it's important to remember that if your content creation is monetized, really you're wanting to be entertaining or informative, or ideally a mixture of both, which is what I kind of try and aim for. You don't want to be just, well, yeah, here's me playing Dark Souls 2 again, I want a few levels to use this spell, so I'm just gonna kill this monster over and over for half an hour, I hope you enjoy, let's just get on with it. We're not going to do that. That's not entertainment. So that's why that stuff doesn't get done on camera for the most part. And that counts as work, because you are producing a better quality product as a result of work you're doing off camera. Obviously the recording itself takes as long as the recording itself, assuming you don't do another take, and doing second takes isn't actually practical in most situations. So keep that in mind. The J-Star Victory videos are relatively easy to produce because I'm just doing free battle matches. They're very quick, so actually they don't involve any kind of pre-work, so yes, okay, they don't have much work involved. But a long-running series on a game that's very involved, like Dark Souls or Monster Hunter, or going back in time to Portal 2 or Resident Evil 6, there's a lot of stuff to do in those games. So I hope that you consider that level of work that goes in. And Let's Look At videos are a bit weird. Generally I try and play a game for at least half an hour before I do a Let's Look At video of it, but sometimes if I get drawn in it might be say an hour or an hour and a half, or if it's a short game I might actually try and get through it, like in the case of Jazzpunk. And then I obviously have to do a bit of research off camera to get release dates, pricing, make sure I adhere to any special instructions the developer / publisher has given me, like what I can show or what I have to mention in terms of say a Kickstarter campaign. So that all goes into it as well. And that's just the general recording. So on Tuesday I didn't actually do any of the post-recording side because I wanted to build up a bit of raw footage while I had the chance. So my Wednesday was spent doing what I would consider largely the really kind of gritty, proper work, also very boring part of what I do. So I did a lot of thumbnail creation, which is just kind of piling up a bunch of thumbnails that I use for my series. Very, very boring, very tedious, has to be done. I also started doing rendering. Now, the more you edit and render videos, generally the quicker and more efficient you get at it, but the same can be said for anything you do in a job. Or not even in a job, just in general. If you do something enough, you will get better at it. So my rendering process, by and large, is actually very streamlined at this point. I have a bunch of presets. I do the same kind of the systematic stuff I do to every bit of footage before I start rendering. I sync up my audio. And that's about it, other than adding the end title screen thingy. And then getting it rendering. Rendering does take quite a while. It usually takes, say, an hour for an average length video that I produce, at least an hour. If it's a bit on the longer side, an hour and a half maybe. And I do a bunch of them, so I did a bunch of rendering. And then I also handbrake videos now, so that I try and bring down the file size a little bit so that I can free up my connection. And as I've already said, throughout all this, still doing uploads throughout the day as well. That obviously doesn't require direct attention other than in the morning when I'd start the upload and I set my tags and whatnot. On the Wednesday I also did do the Patreon Saturday video, which if you are a Patreon supporter of mine, you will have seen. This week it was just a look at, or last week I guess by the time you guys hear this, it was a look at my often spoken of melee build character that I played through Dark Souls 2 with prior to the game being out for the purposes of producing my review video on it. And I did also answer some more emails on the Wednesday, because they'd built up. This has actually been a bit of a weird one in terms of how many emails I've been getting. The number of them has been above average, let's say. So I've had to be picky and choosy again about what games I try. So if you are ever an indie dev listening to this and I didn't get back to you, I really do apologise. It's not necessarily that I didn't like your game, it might just be something that isn't my thing. If I get approached to do a sports game, say like a football game, I'm not going to do it, even if it's the most amazing football game ever made. It's just they don't do anything for me, so I would never prioritise that above everything else. And next, move on to Thursday. I did another Let's Look At on Thursday. I can't remember which one that was. Oh, Cloud Built. That won't be up yet. Look forward to it. It has a very, very nice looking visual style. I also did more rendering and more handbraking, because is that the right way to say that? If I put a video through handbrake, is it handbraking? I'm not sure on that, but either way I did some more of that, and obviously I was still working on the footage I'd captured previously. I also answered even more emails, and then did a couple of late night J-Star Victory VS recordings, because I realised that I'd ran out of backlogged videos to upload of that, because I'm not used to uploading one a day of a particular series. It kind of confuses me when I look at my video manager like, wow, I've been uploading a lot of videos on individual days, and then I realise, no wait, no I've not. So I think I'm in credit in terms of how many uploads I've got waiting to publish, and I'm not really. That's what I'm meaning. On Friday, which was yesterday for me at the point I'm recording this, I did yet more rendering and handbraking of videos, and I also recorded one 40-minute Dark Souls 2 video. I had a lot of fun with that one actually, because it was a genuine challenge. I'm looking forward to that one going up. I don't know what part it will be. I think it's part 17 or 16. Either way. And then of course we come to Saturday, today. So what have I done today so far? Well, I've done a load more of thumbnail creation, and that is the worst part for me. I like the thumbnails I've made for my recent series. I'm getting a bit better at it, I think, but it's so tedious doing it the way I do it anyway. I use a free program, so it's not exactly great. I'm also obviously recording this Let's Chat that you're hearing now, so let's not focus too much on that. The rest of a Saturday's recording schedule is very, very variable. I try and do my Hearthstone recordings on Saturdays, because generally that's when other people are freely available who want to take part in the series. And I obviously also have the weekly Steam group night to handle, which is 2 hours out of my evening at least. Usually more if we have a good time. But yeah, so Saturdays are definitely the most variable day. Monday is the day where I definitely do the least, although I don't think you can begrudge someone having one day off a week. And I want to remind you all that I wasn't trying to do this in any type of confrontational manner. I'm not looking to start an argument. I also don't feel the need to justify myself. I just thought it would be interesting, possibly, and maybe you found this incredibly boring, and I'm sorry if you did, if a content creator on YouTube laid out their week and how they spend it. As long as you keep in mind that the rendering process, the off-camera side of things, the dealing with PR companies and branding and whatnot, it eats into your time, and the stress thing is the only kind of really serious thing I wanted to dabble in bringing up, because it's stressful. It is stressful, like I was mentioning. There are stressful aspects of doing this kind of thing for a living. It's the same as, well, like, say I was a sales rep in a store once. If your numbers weren't up, you got shit from your manager, and you got in trouble, and you got threatened with, oh, if you don't step up, the store might close, and then what are you going to do? You're going to lose your job. Well, on YouTube, oh no, my views are down, I'm not earning as much from ads because people are using ad block more often these days. Well, I guess I don't eat this week. That's similar in terms of the levels of stress it can generate. Now obviously maybe, that makes no sense. Maybe there's some people who aren't as stressed out by that kind of thing, but I'm the type of person who worries a bit too much about that kind of stuff, I suppose, which is also probably why I spent so long talking about how I spent my last week in terms of the work I do. But yeah, I think I'm going to wrap up here. I hope to have something a bit more cheerful to talk about next time, although I don't think this, if this did come across as bleak, it certainly didn't, it wasn't my intention for it to come across as bleak. I just wanted to lay out a typical work week for me, and I've been taking notes about the videos I've recorded and whatnot. That's by and large, it's a good representation of how I spend my week. Obviously, if I had to upload more videos a day because I had a better connection and I could facilitate it, there'd be more recording worked into that. It would basically just mean that in one recording sitting, I'd probably do more than one video. Like, instead of saying, oh, today I recorded 2 Dark Souls 2 videos, it'd probably be 4, and they'd just kind of follow on one after the other. Sometimes I do like leaving a break because it means I don't play in a rushed manner for a start, but it also means I'm coming back to a little while later, like when you guys see it, you will be as well, so it won't feel so bad, because I don't like it when people break it, and I think I've spoken about this before. I don't like when people break a playthrough into like 15-minute videos when they're very clearly sitting and playing for an hour and they're just doing it for ad money. If I do breaks, it's generally because I reach a natural point where I think it's acceptable. I hope you agree. Anyway, I'm going to wrap up here. This was a bit rambly and a bit long, I do apologise for that. Thank you for listening anyway. Come back next Monday if you want to hear me talk about something else. I'll poll Twitter next time, and maybe we'll get something cheerful. I wouldn't hold your breath though. Anyway, thank you for listening, and there will be another daily upload later tonight. In case you haven't worked it out yet, by the way, I usually do my big main daily video posts at 9 PM UK time. I don't know particularly why, it just feels right to me. But yeah, okay, there we go. I'm going to go now. Thank you for listening. Ta-ta for now.